morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra, for your usual lovely music gathering us together today.
You might need to you might say good morning again. Get everybody.
Is everybody? What? I think they're here. Again, welcome, everyone. Welcome to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church. Welcome to those of you who are here in person, and welcome also to those of you joining us on YouTube, whether that's today or sometime in the future. My name is Linda Phippen. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm a member of the Worship Committee. It is my privilege and pleasure to be serving as Worship Associate today. All of you who are joining us today, whether in person or virtually, have arrived from different places and by different paths. Some of you were born into Unitarian Universalism, and some of you have practiced other religions or no religion at all. However you got here, we welcome you to join us in an exploration of, as Douglas Adams said, life, the universe, and everything. After the service, if you are here in person, we hope you will stay around for coffee, tea, light snacks, and a chance to chat with one another. There are some announcements in your order of service or up on the screen if you're on YouTube. You can also find announcements in our weekly e-newsletter on our website. And if you'd like to subscribe to the newsletter, you can do that on our website as well. I do have one extra announcement, just a reminder that this afternoon at 4 o'clock, the cluster picnic, which is of the UU congregations in the area, will be held at 4 o'clock at the Cove. Well, after that revelation, I will turn things over to Reverend Carol.
What would we do without Jerry in the back to help us remember we need lights? Yay! Good morning, everyone. It is good to see you all. I am Reverend Carol Bodeau. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I am privileged to serve here as minister. Thrilled to have you all here with us this morning, and those of you who are with us here virtually, we're thrilled to have you here as well. So one other quick announcement just to notice. So if you want to come to the picnic, yes, it's happening. If there's rain, we'll figure it out. If it's a bad thunderstorm, don't come. But we are planning on having it regardless of what the weather is doing. And also, right after our service today, after coffee hour from 12:30 to 2-ish, we have compassionate communication. So everybody is welcome to join us for that. That is a chance to learn about and practice some techniques that help with deepening connection through conversation, regardless of whether there is conflict in that relationship. So today we are talking about Unitarian Universalism. Somehow all of us managed to get to this room. And last week we talked a little bit about the history of Unitarianism and Universalism and how we get to hear with such a plurality of different beliefs in the room. Today we're going to talk about whether or not that constitutes a religion. So, as I invite our bowl to sing this morning, the question I'd invite you to just settle into your body and your mind is, what does that word mean to you? What happens when you hear the word religion? How do you feel about it? And as the bowl sounds, I'm going to invite you to take a few deep breaths and come fully present into this moment in this space.
Tremaine Hawkins is going to light our chalice for this morning. People have many ideas about what is and what is not a religion. For today's chalice reading, I have chosen words from Albert Einstein. Many of the thoughts about religion attributed to Einstein are apocryphal or taken completely out of context. But here's something he actually wrote to his close friend, German physician Hans Mussum, in 1954. He wrote, "I am a deeply religious non-believer. That is a somewhat new kind of religion. I have never imputed to nature a purpose or a goal or anything that could be understood as anthropomorphic. What I see in nature is a magnificent structure that we can comprehend only very imperfectly, and that must fill a thinking person with a feeling of humility. This is a genuinely religious feeling that has nothing to do with mysticism." We also light 2 other candles. One candle is for recognizing the things in our world that cause sorrow and concern, of which there are so many filling our news feeds. But we also light a candle to remember more hopeful things. If you need a break from depressing news, spend a little time on the website Good News Network, where you can find news about people helping people, people helping animals, animals helping people, and other hope-enhancing stories.
So I want to start with this morning with a good story I heard on NPR this morning that made me happy. So I thought I'd just share it. It has really nothing to do with whether or not UUism is a religion, but it made me really happy. The loggerhead turtles are coming back. Yay for the turtles! So there's a beach in Florida, Juneau Beach, where as recently as 15 or 20 years ago, they would only find about 3,000 loggerhead nests on that beach. This year there are over 13,000. And same thing is happening further north on the coast. So the loggerhead turtles that's a tough road for a loggerhead turtle, right? Because the hot sand tends to, like, the mama turtle might lay 70 or 80 eggs, only about half of which will actually hatch. Because the sand is so hot, some of them actually get cooked in the sand. And then, they got to make it to the ocean, and then they got to deal with the things in the ocean that want to eat them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the signs are good that just some humans paying some attention is helping this whole species revive. That is good news for our small efforts, right? Our efforts can actually matter. And we live in a world where our efforts need to matter because there's a lot going on. So, many of you know that a couple of months ago, the Department of Defense deeply pruned its list of recognized religions. So the Department of Defense has this list of religions that it uses to help service people connect with spiritual care, chaplains, and things like that, right? And up until a few months ago, there were 211 formally recognized religions on that list. There are now 31. They removed 180 of them. And of the remaining 31 religions, 22 are specifically designated Christian denominations. The other traditions that are still formally recognized include, and I'm literally going to tell you what the 9 other things are. Okay, so there's 22 Christian denominations. Then there is Baha'i, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, and Sikhism. So that's 6 more structured traditional religions. The remaining 3 options that a service person has, the box they have the option to check, are agnostic, no religion, and other. Okay? Now there were a few things that I could not find an actual list of 180. The longest list of things cut that I could find was a list of about 30. But these 30 are fairly they're fairly indicative of the trend. Specifically cut from the list were atheism, humanism, Native American religions. That one kind of ticks me off the worst of all, actually. And basically all identifiable branches of New Thought, including Wicca, paganism, shamanism, druidry, etc. Pick all your things, right? And last but not least, eliminated from the list was, yes, Unitarian Universalism. So, the Department of Defense has a very clear answer to whether or not Unitarian Universalism is a religion, and the answer is no. It's pretty simple. So any UU now serving in the military has to figure out which category to check when asked about their religion. Okay, and I'm going to back up here and say we could spend lots of hours discussing the broader problem behind this particular action, okay? We could spend a long time talking about the government moving in a focused and directed way to eliminate religious diversity, which is pretty upsetting given that religious tolerance and diversity are foundational principles upon which our nation was founded. But we're not going to do that today. We're going to do something slightly different. We can do that a different day. So what we are going to do is talk about why it matters that we think about this question of whether or not we're a religion. If we are going to solidify our resolve as UUs to honor diversity, to cultivate plurality, which, as I said, is supposedly a concept upon which our nation is founded, if we are going to renew and establish and solidify our commitment to those things, we need to get some shared clarity about who and what we are and why we are together. Which brings us back to that question of which box do you check when presented with that list? So I want to be really clear about one thing. As we talked about last week, when I gave that little short history of Unitarian Universalism, and if you weren't here for that or you haven't checked out that video, our topic last week was, how such diverse belief systems as mysticism and atheism, for example, can coexist in our tradition, as they do. So you could check that out if you didn't have a chance to listen to that. But one of the main points of last week's service is that Unitarian Universalism is in fact pluralistic. Okay? This is a pluralistic tradition. We do have Buddhists and Hindus and Muslims and Jews and Christians in our congregations and in our pulpits. Okay? There are many, many people from traditions that the Department of Defense list recognizes that are at the center of our faith tradition. So many people who are UUs would also be able to check one of those other faith tradition boxes. In fact, when I was in seminary, the head of Star King School for the Ministry, in Unitarian Universalism, we have two main seminaries that are devoted just to Unitarian Universalism. So our ministers might attend one of the broader seminaries like Andover Newton or Harvard or someplace like that, but we have two seminaries in the U.S. that are UU seminaries. One is called Meadville Lombard Theological School. It's based in Chicago. And Star King School for the Ministry is based now in Oakland, California. It used to be on the campus of UC Berkeley. So when I went to seminary, I was at UC Berkeley at Star King School for the Ministry. And the head of the school at that time is a very prominent theologian named Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker. Dr. Parker is an ordained United Methodist minister. So she is a Methodist and a Unitarian Universalist, okay? The other professors that I had in seminary, at a UU seminary, some of them were Sister Rosemary Kenichi, who is a Catholic nun, Ibrahim Baba, also known as Dr. Ibrahim Abdurraham Farajage, who was a Sufi Muslim leader. and African-American activist and Christian interfaith minister, Reverend Dr. Dorsey Blake. So, and many others. My lead preaching teacher was Alma Faith Crawford, who is ordained, I believe, Baptist in the Black Baptist Church. So all my professors at seminary were both UU and something else. So many people who consider themselves Unitarian Universalists would also check one of those other boxes, right? My initial call to ministry, when I thought, oh, I'm going to go to seminary, that was inspired by hearing UU minister, Reverend James Leach, preach an amazing sermon in a UU church, and he is co-ordained American Baptist, and he talked about that day when he preached. So we are a pluralistic tradition, okay? It's important to know that. I had colleagues in seminary who were Hindu, and I attended pujas, and I attended Jewish practices, and I attended all kinds of things with my colleagues and friends in seminary. But are we a religion? Now, we've been arguing about this for a very, very, very long time. So I'm going to tell you right now that I don't have a definitive answer to this, right? Because that would be stupid to assert that I had the answer to a UU congregation. That would be a bad plan, right? I have some opinions. Today's question is one upon which Unitarian Universalists do not agree now and have not agreed for a long time. But it is one that we need to grapple with if we're ever to have the sort of solidarity and cohesiveness that is required in our current cultural context. Our current cultural context asks of us to know who we are and why we're here and what holds us together. So let's start with this. What the heck constitutes a religion in the first place? What does the word even mean? So I learned something new this week. I was previously a college English professor in my previous career, so my default when I want to understand the origin of a word is to go to the Oxford English Dictionary, which is the definitive source for the etymology of words. You have to pay for it online now. You can't use it. I know, Morgan, that face Morgan is making is the face I made. Like, what? Seriously? Okay, so I had to look at some other stuff to get some understanding of the history of the word. And the history of the word religion is a little bit convoluted. It's meant a lot. It's been around for 1,000 years. People have been using this word that we know of for at least 1,000 years. And it's meant a lot of different things over time. There was a time early in its history when it meant the monastic life, which that ain't us, right? But it's meant all kinds of other things. So the linguistic sources are still arguing about what its original meaning is. But here are a few of the primary options we can have for defining it now. 1, belief in God or gods. 2, devotion to what is sacred. 3, having a sense of moral conscientiousness and or adhering to a religious community, right? Are we any of those? Do any of those apply to us all together? It's of course easy to argue that we both have a moral conscientiousness and adhere to a community that shares our values, but it's slightly less easy to argue that we are all devoted to what is sacred, depending on how you define that. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking, couldn't you say in Tennessee that people are religious about UT football? Couldn't you say that, right? How many of you, besides the people in my household, are counting the days until the first Falls game? Nobody? You've shifted. Yay! So just in case you wanted to know, it's 27 days. And there is a website that not only counts the days, but the hours and the seconds. And I would like to note that that site is free, unlike the Oxford English Dictionary. Okay? So anyway, we use the word religious to mean a lot of things, right? I'm religious about my morning coffee, right? What do you mean when you say that? I'm religious about my morning coffee. Maybe it means it's ritualistic for you. Maybe it means that it's central to who you understand yourself to be. Maybe it means that you are committed to it as a sacred value, right? Think about what you are religious about. So we often use the word religious or religion colloquially to refer to any kind of devoted, passionate, committed adherence to someone or something, sometimes to a place. So perhaps some of us are religious UUs. Some of us are religious about Unitarian Universalism. Has anybody ever met a Unitarian Universalist zealot? I have. People who are absolutely passionate about spreading the word of Unitarian Universalism. How do y'all feel when I use the word evangelize? Give me a show of thumbs up or thumbs down when I use the word evangelize. So when I was in seminary, we had long conversations about this. And this was when Reverend Dr. Rebecca Parker was president of Star King, and we had conversations about being evangelical about Unitarian Universalism. There's something that people who find themselves in UU settings, something that they find not okay about the concept of evangelizing. We are independent. We want to find it for ourselves, and we don't want anyone to try to convince us of it, right? And yet, at the core of evangelism is spreading the word. So, don't we want to tell other people who might be looking for Unitarian Universalism that it exists? But we're afraid to be evangelical. So that's a part of this religiosity question, right? What does it mean to have a devoted, passionate, committed adherence to something? How much are we willing to realign our lives and share that message with other people? Now, to the list of the 3 things that might define a religion. A belief, number 1, a belief in God or gods. Okay, we know that we don't agree on that. We can kind of set that one aside, right? It might be different to ask the question, well, how do you define God? That's a whole nother thing, because I have met people whose God is evolution, without a doubt, who talk about that in the same way that other people talk about what we think of as God. But we're going to skip that one. Let's go back to the Department of Defense checklist. If you are asked to check a box, what do you choose? So, if you're willing, is there anybody in this room, just if you want to raise your hand, who would check one of the other boxes that's a defined religion? I know that we have people in our midst, maybe not in the room today, but who are Baha'i, Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, Jewish, or Sikh. Christian as well, different traditions, right? We know we have people who are in those traditions. We have had people in the past in this congregation who were Buddhist. We have people now who practice Hinduism. We have had many people who are Jewish, even in our own small little community. Okay, so if you're not those, you got 3 choices: agnostic, no religion, and other. So let's start with agnostic. Here's what agnostic means. I love the phrasing of this. It means one neither affirms nor denies anything. It's a very legalistic neutrality, right? Right? I neither affirm nor deny that. One neither affirms nor denies any particular belief. And here's what's important. This is decidedly different from being atheist. It's really important to understand that. Atheism, which they consider not a religion, but which other people would consider a very firm belief system, atheism states with clarity that there is no divine. Okay? Agnosticism, on the other hand, neither affirms nor denies anything. I have to say, I find this inclusion perplexing. Like, why did they leave agnosticism in the list? I'm confused by that. I'm still trying to understand the logic when the list now has such a clear bias towards traditions that are devotional and have clear religious practices, right? And if you think about it, many of them have a God, right? Judaism, right? Islam. These are traditions that have a very clear sense of divinity, and I don't want to use the word dogma, but very clear codes of belief, right? So I'm a little bit perplexed about why agnostic got left, but that's an option. So we might affirm or state that we are agnostic. I neither affirm or deny anything, but here I am. Okay, option 2 is no religion. Okay? And option 3 is other religion. So I would have to choose the other box because I have a very strong faith and a set of beliefs and practices that are not included in the new list. They're things that were actually excluded from the old list. So what about you? Which box do you check? Many in Unitarian Universalism would argue that we are an other religion. This stance takes the position that Unitarian Universalism is indeed a valid religious tradition with a clear history, with a set of specific beliefs, with a set of specific practices. We have practices that are rooted in the recognition of what we might call transcendent values, right? They're not necessarily mystical in nature, but they nonetheless are values that we hold to help us rise above day-to-day struggles, day-to-day problems, right? They guide our rituals, our observances, our practices, our community cohesion. So some of us would say that we are an other religion. Another argument for this being the case is the fact that both Unitarianism and Universalism are historically very clear Christian religions. So that even though they have evolved and changed, they have ancient roots as religions, recognized religions. Others would argue, though, that we are no religion. And this position has a lot of arguments for it, but a couple of the primary foundational arguments for calling us no religion is all is first a very solid rejection of that first definition of religion, which means believing in a god or gods, anything mystical or supernatural. So for many people, the word religion implies something mystical, something supernatural, something that has to do with a god or gods, and we are not that. So that's the no. Another argument against us being considered a religion is a rejection of or resistance to the sort of communal adherence that's posited in that third definition. Adherence to community values or codes of behavior. In other words, many of us are really not okay with thinking of Unitarian Universalism as a sort of place where religious leaders create codes of behavior and thought which congregants adhere to or follow. Because we're pretty staunchly independent and anti-institutional, right? And like I said, there's no answer to this. I would be an absolute fool if I tried to create one answer today. Like, I wouldn't make it out of the sanctuary to my office at the end of the service safely if I said, well, y'all, the answer is this. Deal with it. That's not who we are, right? So there's no real final answer to the question. We're not all going to agree upon that because what religion means to us personally varies so widely. But maybe we could find some shared understanding that will give us more solid footing in this new reality we find ourselves in 21st century America. The way I see it, the word religion matters less than the underlying meanings of that word. And for me, there are three key concepts or questions we need to decide upon. Number one, what do we all believe in? If not God or gods, which is what holds many other traditions, what do we believe in? What do we all agree upon? If we're so pluralistic and we have so much diversity, what in the world holds us together? What is it? And number two, what are we devoted to? Now that's bigger than just believing. It's fine to say, yes, I believe that. I think that's right. And it's another thing entirely to be devoted to something, because being devoted means something matters enough to us that we're willing to take risks, to be bold and courageous, to live from those beliefs. And thirdly, how willing are we to act as a community, as a coherent collective, rather than as a group of isolated individuals, each asserting the importance of our own individual perspectives? Right? If we all come together just because we all think it's awesome that we all can say, this is what I think, that's not very cohesive. These three questions to me seem really important in the face of a cultural attempt to solidify and codify beliefs at the national level, right? If we are facing a national culture in which diversity is being eliminated, us being able to say together, collectively, hey, wait a minute, here's where we are. That's more powerful than just a bunch of isolated voices saying, I disagree. So here are my answers to these three questions. What do we believe in? I think we all believe that it's important to try to make the world more inclusive, more respectful, more caring, and more just. I think every single person I've met in a UU context believes in the importance of living in ways that allow us to have a world that is more inclusive, more respectful, and more caring. I think we're devoted to equity, compassion, and justice. And I think we're willing to take risks for them. And I believe that love is the transcendent value at the center of our tradition. Our new statement of principles and purposes states that love is at the center. And we've had conversations about what that means. So I will say that in the past, if I use the word love to say that's the center of the tradition, sometimes people would use a different word, but it meant that, right? It meant care, it meant equity, but whatever word we use to describe it, that sense of deep commitment to the well-being of all, I call that love. And that is what our denomination has asserted is at the center. It is our central value. And about that coherence thing, about that adhering to a community thing, I think we all want to belong. I think that we know in our bodies that we are not just isolated individuals. I think that we are mostly afraid that if we belong, truly belong, our individuality will somehow be stolen from us. But I think that Unitarian Universalism is a place where we say, you can both belong and be yourself. And that's what makes us unique. So it seems to me that in some ways we are functionally a religion, in the sense that we are a group of people coming together to share and practice a set of values rooted in something bigger than ourselves. And I don't care much if we use the word religion. I don't care. I don't care if you call that no religion or other religion. I don't think it really matters. I just care that we know ourselves as together, upholding deep and sacred values that matter in this world. So I would probably check the other box, not just to describe my other more mystical and earth-based practices and traditions and beliefs, but also to describe Unitarian Universalism. And of course, I would honor whatever box you would check for yourself, right? Because that's the whole point. Because that's what UUism is. A willingness to listen to and learn about and honor different perspectives. But that is a core value. In a famous passage by the Reverend John Burens, in one of the little booklets that we hand out to people who are new to the tradition, we have these little booklets with little short essays in them. And there's a famous little short essay by Reverend John Burens. He was the former president of the denomination, and he compares our tradition to light coming through a stained glass window. So imagine you're standing. It can be in an old church or it can be in a nature center with a glass window. Pick your location, whatever you feel comfortable with. But imagine you're standing in a room and there's a stained glass window and light is coming through it. The light comes through the many colors, the many shapes of the glass and makes patterns on the floor or room where it enters. The beauty of the light is not diminished by the variety and complexity of the forms through which the light passes, but rather is enhanced by them. So we too are enriched by the diversity of traditions and perspectives and values that make up our community. Called by any name, it is a tradition worth honoring and defending as we go out into a world that might need its colors. But remember that imagine a stained glass image that was fragmented. Think of the difference. If you got one little piece over here with a color and one little piece over there with a color and one little piece and it's the way they come together. It's the cohesiveness created by all those separate things coming together that makes the beautiful image, the tapestry, that then is cohesive with the person looking at it. So I would be curious to hear during coffee hour. We'll probably use it as our compassionate communication starting question today. What do you think about that? How do you feel about the word religion? What does it do for you? Does it upset you? Does it encourage you? Many of us have a lot of memories in our bodies related to religion. I hope that as you think about this question, you can think about what you want to embrace about the shared belief, shared practices, and sense of coherence that we create as a faith tradition. May it be so. So one of the ways we go out in the world to try to live those values is through what we call our justice and generosity practices. So our current Share the Plate partner, yay, and our justice and generosity partner is Keep Tennessee River Beautiful. So Keep Tennessee River Beautiful, actually we have just finally settled on a date when they are going to come speak. They are going to be here on August 23rd to share information with us about their organization, the kinds of things they do. They do river cleanups, they do educational activities, and they're going to be here, one of their speakers is going to be here on August 23rd to teach us more about that. I guess we go through September. July, August, and September are the 3 months that they are our partner. So you can make a donation to Keep the Tennessee River Beautiful directly through Westside. You can do that in the box at the back of the room. There's a QR code. You can check it out on the website. And there you have it, the QR code in front of you. You can, if you make a contribution, it will be added to the baseline contribution that we give to all our justice and generosity partners, all our partners. You can also always support Westside directly. This helps us make sure that the building is running smoothly, that the staff is paid, and that we are able to continue doing the good work we do in the world. So we're really appreciative for all the ways people contribute time and energy and resources to make this organization continue to run. So there's something that's not in your order of service that we're going to do this morning. So I'm going to invite the choir to come up. And Tremaine's going to be in the middle, in front of that microphone. So it's Tremaine's last Sunday with us before going off to college. Yay! I mean, yay! Ooh, yay! We're sad that you're going, but we're really glad. So Tremaine is going off to college as a music major. And so we decided that we would let Tremaine pick a favorite song, and we're going to sing it for you all with some solos by Tremaine. And, okay, you guys, squeeze together a little bit. Squeeze together a little bit. There you go. And so we're going to be singing for you Bright Morning Stars with some solos by Tremaine.
Stars are rising.
So we are sending you Tremaine with great wishes, great love, and hopes for an amazing time and journey there. We are looking forward to you coming back and singing with us again. So at the close of our services, we do something to demonstrate our coherence as a community. If you are so willing and so inclined, I invite you to stand. And you can, wow, gotta do this. Holy moly. Okay. And join hands, or hold your own hands, by gosh. Hold your own hands if you want to. Hold your own hands. It is okay to hold your own hands. But if you feel like joining together, we are a stained glass window. This room is filled with diversity. Every one of us, a unique set of gifts and struggles and hopes and wishes and experiences and histories. Each one of us, light shining through us, coming out, looking differently than everyone else, but yet each one of us essential to the larger tapestry, the larger pattern, the larger picture. So as you go into this day and this week and this world, remember to shine your light. But also remember you're part of something bigger, and we're glad you're part of this community. Go in peace, go in passion, and go knowing that you have both your individuality and your belonging.